Hey guys, what's up? It's Dave. Going to go through the overall market analysis. Going into the weekend, I was posting up on Twitter, hey, maybe this is going to be a good week for semis, with the apparently now fake news that came out about semis and Apples and Apple iPhones, and other specific things that have been exempt from tariffs. So I was, as of yesterday I was, as of today, about, 5-6 hours ago when I heard this, I was bullish on semis. Now I'm not sure. Either way, the point is I don't think anybody knows what is going on. A lot of people perceive like there's no plan with this administration. It's just kind of a free-for-all with tariffs. And it's just trust relations are being broken. This is a self-inflicted thing for like, what's the purpose? There's a lot being put out there. So it is a lot to digest. And keeping it simple, knowing that the market likes consistency, it likes to know how to look forward. It likes to have a direction. It likes to have some sort of stability. There's none of that going on right now. So with this large move down, I'm not looking to enter anything huge, anything large. For my longer term holds, I'll be looking for areas to nibble at, slowly accumulate shares, but that's longer term things, like investment type things I intend on holding for 5, 10, 15, 20 years until I die, or I don't know. It just depends. So especially like even now, if you were buying the SPY and things like that, these things resolve. This has happened before in the past. Sharp price corrections, I should say like this, and they have always resolved. If you just look at the monthly chart, this stuff goes up. Okay. That was just a little note. I don't know what all this stuff is. So what is this? Is this the code crash? Look at that crash. Came down, and that was a V bottom. People are, I don't know. I've heard a lot of things. I don't know if it's going to be a V bottom. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care to predict. I just look at charts, but as a nice reminder, the overall trend of the market as it is kind of built on, people want to own stocks. So it has a natural buying drift upwards. So I do feel for those that are retired. Their 401ks, they're taking a hit right now. That is for sure. So it depends on your time horizon. 10, 15 years from now, this is going to be a little blip. So it sucks. Don't get me wrong. It sucks. It is not easy. Yet it'll even out eventually. Load up. Don't freeze on me. Okay. Anyways, getting back to it. Looking at the SPY here. Let's look at the weekly. I guess I should turn on my bar charts again. So most people, I like looking at the Howell candles. Most people are familiar with the bars. Okay. So if we are looking at it, we got some levels. This did end up being a bear flag here, and it broke down. Last week, pretty choppy. A lot of people saying, hey, is the low in at 481? Not sure. I could see, it can go to, I would expect some sort of test of 470. Depends on how this weekend prices in the tariff news and debacle and uncertainty. Maybe we gap down this evening and into tomorrow. Not sure. Either way, if you look at it, even if you want to keep it simple, the trend is obviously down. If you're trying to catch this, you're most likely going to get blown out. You're trying to catch a falling knife if you're trying to trade this stuff. I hope you don't get blown out, but the chances are not in your favor if you are trading long here, unless you have a system for like dead cat bounces or reversals or things like that. But if you're just willy-nilly, hey, I'm going to buy here, it's too far down, things like that, I would highly recommend you don't do it. Not financial advice, but just speaking from experience and just time. I would not don't go trying to catch falling knives like this, okay? What I would anticipate, what I'm looking for, I'm looking for some sort of retest. I don't know if it's going to get all the way down to 480, but some sort of pullback, some sort of retest, maybe in the 500 level, 510, to set a higher low. You know, set a higher low, and then we make a higher high, hit this supply right here, right? And then we can chop, or I don't know, making new highs at the end of the year is most likely unlikely, I suppose. Overall, though, what I am expecting, especially over the next few months, is more of a base build. If we do not just straight up head lower, I'm looking for some chop of some sort. This is just an idea. I'm not saying all the way to August here, but I'm looking for some sort of chop, some sort of consolidation and position building, to where long-term holders and long-term buyers have confidence in stability of the market, where things need to be clarified and having some sort of plan and idea of where things are going. Until that happens, I'm not expecting much. I'm not expecting some face ripper into new all-time highs. If we do, great, I guess, but that's not part of my expectations. If we want to look at the RSP, equally weighted, you can say similar things, right? So shorter term trend lines heading down. Where, you know, we got a death cross last week of the 50 crossing the 200 SMA, 50 SMA crossing 200 SMA. I don't trade crosses at SMA, but some people do. Some people care about that stuff. I'm not one of them, but just to know that people are looking at that. We are retesting at an interesting level here. I'd say undercut it actually, and failed lower. A lot of volume here last week, especially relative to these prior. Just a ton of volume in this area. So we'll see. SPX, I have markers down here. So we got about 21.75, maybe close to 22% off of all-time highs. And we absolutely ripped, let's see, where we close up at 10% off those lows. So, I mean, the volatility is freaking wild. The SPY is trading like a penny stock, like it was back in COVID. It's kind of exaggeration, but almost not really. So, I mean, I guess it's interesting that it hit this VWAP from the October lows, October 2022 lows. It respected it here. It bounced from it there. Interesting observation. Not sure if it really means anything. But I guess that's a level of interest, especially as it held at the October 23 lows. So looking at this though, everything is pointing down, right? So Q's down. Okay, I want, again, what I'm looking for is some sort of chop if we don't break lower. You know, I don't know if we actually break higher or anything. I don't know anything. I'm not here to predict. I'm just trading what's on the charts. But overall, again, I am certainly cautious. I am not trying to catch anything. I'm not trying to catch any falling knives. What I am trading, how I am trading in my positions, long term, I am accumulating, and shorter term, I am in and out. IWM, we fell below this 185. I got a little level here where it was found support. We almost got there. I wouldn't be shocked if we didn't hit 160, or if we did hit 160, I would not be shocked. Looking at XLB, I mean, there's not going to be much to look at with all this stuff because everything is getting crushed, right? So I think it's pretty easy. XLC retested the breakout area. That's interesting. A lot of these, you know, trades could have been bounces, I think. Bounce trades, shorter term. But long-term horizon, long-term fundamental land, we got a lot of chop in XLE happening here. You know, this could just be the first consolidation, the first leg lower. And if it breaks these, I'd look for another leg lower for XLE. You know, long-term, macro view, there's a lot of uncertainty. So, and the charts are obviously showing that, right? So until things start to settle down and have some sort of answer, some sort of direction, you know, things are just getting crushed. Nothing looks super buyable. I mean, this could be potential double bottom here in XLP. Consumer staples just ripped off the lows. Looks interesting, I suppose, testing those highs. But I don't know. It's just not, it's not the most. So obviously, okay, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this held, this 75, 76 level held 4 times by now. So that's an obvious level of interest there for XLP. These broke these lows. Looks like a downtrending is going to start happening in XLU. Potentially, you know, there's a lot of supply here. So if it gets rejected down this way, from all of this supply, quote unquote, trapped ahead. Nobody's actually ever trapped, right? If somebody's going to want to get out and move prices, they're going to. Nobody actually cares about your moving average or your levels. If the big players want to get out, they're going to get out. And you are basically stepping in front of a train if you think they care about lines on your chart that you are putting on there, like me. So I understand that these are just levels of interest. They're not like, hey, it's going to hit here, it's going to bounce here, this is going to happen. Not a chance. You have to be adaptable with this stuff. You have to be on your toes. Interesting level. So you're seeing a lot of, as we go through these charts, you see a lot of levels being tested and bouncing off of those levels. Now it just depends on if we get another pullback, if another higher low is set versus those levels. So like it bounced off this level here, right, where it has in the past, this kind of chop. It depends on if we get, so we get a bounce. If we get a little pullback and it sets a higher low versus that, and then we set a higher high and a higher low, higher high, right? And then I don't know if it's gonna, you know, it just depends on structure. So also what could, I guess, happen is just in general what I'm looking for, if we get a bounce and then kind of retest that low again. And then if we break that low, bounce, test, little bounce, break it, okay, new lows are being made. The downtrend continues on. Come back, retest it. Could be an entry point for a short here, you know, and it can continue on until it consolidates and turn around. So something like that. I am waiting for it to happen. When it's going to happen, no idea. But looking at, I guess it was recommended to look at TLT. Please load. Is that my Bessie and a Tessie? Tesla, one of my favorite stocks to trade. That's why it always pops up there. TLT, it did bounce off of this 85-ish level. I guess, shout out Michael Noss, he put out a pretty good video on X. Go follow him if you guys don't. He's a good follow. I guess typically stocks and TLT trade inverse. However, now they're trading together, and if TLT continues to break down, stocks are most likely going to follow with it. Here are the TNX, the 10-year treasury notes. I don't use this enough to speak intelligently on it. I learned something about it a week and a half ago, but I forgot, so I'm not going to say anything. CL, I need to trade back to my bar. Sorry, hang on. Crude. Where did I get this from? I think I did this. Bounce out that prior support, right? But obviously downtrending. Small cap. See, everything is just getting crushed, right? Even let's see, look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been surprisingly holding up pretty well. It is hitting the 50 SMA here. It's hitting the 50 SMA here. We'll see if it gets rejected. It got rejected here on April 2nd, pretty heavily. And it's tagging it again. It did undercut these lows, so it's basically kind of range bound from, you know, if you want to do a range, everything tagging, let's just call it an easy 78 to 88. Just for rounding purposes, keep it easy, 78 to 88. I don't know if it breaks lower, but the path of least resistance in Bitcoin is indeed down. It's got a lot of supply that I think it needs to chew through here. You know, we'll see what happens. I'd be interested if it gets back above 91. But long term, again, long term type stuff, this will be, you know, this will be a blip one day. So, all right, let's look at ETFs. SMH, you know, I thought this week was going to be a rather big week. It might still be, but not for my original thought, but for the exemptions that turned out not to be true. So we'll see. We will see. But overall, looking at this, there is obvious supply here. I'll just do that as a level. So it is bouncing up to this hit level here. All of these longs that are quote unquote trapped. You know, what happens here is if this is distribution, kind of seems like it is. It breaks lower. Okay, people are like, oh my gosh, it's breaking lower, sell. Eventually people stop selling. And the buying demand at that point, the new buyers trying to catch like a dead cat bounce, trying to catch a knife, short covering comes in, okay, and it comes back and retests this level. This is an opportunity for all of these people up here to get out at a lower cost, at a lower loss, and that create selling pressure again. So I am looking for that to happen. 50 SMA is down, 2010 EMAs are down, 200 SMA is now starting to curl down. So the path of least resistance, it is weak. Path of least resistance is down yet. And we yet to test this breakout. So 160s, I don't know, is that in the cards? Wouldn't be shocked. TAN, this just is bleh. I think some of the names were looking decent, like they wanted to turn around, or maybe they're just setting up for a bounce, but that is just not something I'm interested in. Jets have gotten absolutely crushed. That's unfortunate. He gave back all of this from August of 24. Man, I remember I was just watching it go, and he gave it all back. Level of interest here, I'd watch 1680 to 1650, somewhere around there. TLT already went over. BIT. What else is interesting? Gold, absolutely getting, you know, on a tear. Silver, it's got a nice little bounce, but you know, it's kind of just, it is setting higher lows technically. Failed to make a higher high here. So I don't know if it's just going to range in here. XOP, URA, what's URA looking like? Hitting potential supply zone. So price is now underneath. Again, similar to SMH. Price is now underneath all of this. So it is retesting that level now. People trapped up here might start selling. So URA, uranium, I don't know. Wouldn't be surprised if it wanted to retest 18s, 17s, somewhere in there. KIE, what was that? That was insurance, right? Yeah, that's insurance. This was actually, it was strong. Just like everything was strong. Okay. China, KWeb, XBI, yeah, biotechs. They're getting crushed. Interesting. They're coming close to this. So looking at these things, I feel like things want to retest even a little bit lower. Overall, XHB, XRT, retail. They're kind of like breaking lows, retesting, and then getting rejected. So I'm just curious if things want to create lower lows. Let's look at the NASDAQ heavyweights. Good old Costco. Getting rejected at the 50 SMA. Microsoft, I did have a trade in this earlier this week. I'll make another video on it. Bouncing to the declining 50 SMA. Lot of overhead supply here. So I would anticipate at some point in time we get a little, I might reshort this. It was a short that I took. I'm gonna put that's on my short list this week. Hitting this downtrend line. Actually, did technically close above it, but I'm not. This just like doesn't look. I don't know. This just doesn't look like it's a strong long. Netflix blue is neutral for me, so I can go either way on this. Overall, just not. And this isn't necessarily a reverse head or a head and shoulders here. Tesla, I was looking long. However, I did clean this up. It's not saving it though. Inside day, double inside day from the Wednesday. I was looking long here, but let me hide this because it just looks bad. Double inside day, chopping around shorter term. It's about to have a death cross this week, 50 crossing the 200. Again, I don't care about that stuff. Some people do. It's chopping around. So there is some sort of price stability here. 215 seems to be the low-ish for now. I don't know if it's just a consolidation and then it's going to break lower for another leg lower. We shall see. However, I don't know. I'm open to longing Tesla this week. It really just has to get above this 200 SMA, which is where it was rejected. Again, if I long anything in this, it is like an overnight hold and probably close out the next day. Momentum, short term, small trading position, small risk, because I'm not trying to get blown out of this market, which I know a lot of people most likely have with this. So I am not, oh, look at that. I forgot to hit my drawings. NVIDIA, little bounce. We'll see if it creates a higher high versus 123. I don't know. Not confident that it will. Google, nice little bounce. So you can see everything is bouncing. Everything is bouncing. Lower lows and lower highs are being made. Okay. High, lower high, low, lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low. Okay. So things are still downtrending. The bounces in a bear market, bounces in downtrends are rather rapid and vicious and violent, and you have huge moves with it, met by supply. So I do think the market it needs some time. It needs some time, and we have. I think it needs time. I don't know. I already said I don't think it's going to be a V bottom type thing, but longer term stuff, we have time. I think we shall see. Okay, I don't know. I'm open to anything this week. I'm open to short term longs. I'm open to short term shorts. I'm just going to play. We'll see what this week has to bring. Overall, pressure is down. Path of least resistance is down. I'll keep it that simple. Manage your risk. Don't get blown out of the market. If you're not confident, if you don't have a plan in a trade, don't trade. You're not going to miss anything. This stuff is hard to trade. This is not easy to trade. You're not going to become a millionaire out of all this. If anything, you're just going to lose stuff. So learn, watch, manage your risk if you decide to take a position, and certainly have a plan. Later. Good luck this week.